there was a really big surprise in the opening of this 6th season. Maybe you consider it a disappointment. That is that Gene was not the opening scene, something we've seen consistently through the first 5 seasons. I was a bit disappointed when I didn't see a Gene opening. I don't have any worries about not seeing Gene. I know that we will see Gene, and it sort of makes sense that they would not have opened up with him this season. One of the things about Better Call Saul is that it is a prequel. So it happens before the events that we watched in Breaking Bad. But when Better Call Saul opened for the first time, the first season, we got one of these Gene scenes. And it was kind of weird. We were in the future, and then we went to the way, way back past. So Better Call Saul has always had this sense of out of orderness to it. And I think what we're going to see in this final season is a very chronological order of story. We're seeing Jimmy again right now, Jimmy and Kim pre-Breaking Bad. They have already officially announced that we will see Walt and Jesse in this season of Better Call Saul. So we're getting the pre-Breaking Bad Saul, then we're going to get the Breaking Bad Saul, and they're probably going to end the season wrapping up Gene's story. And what I'm really hoping is that we get more than one 5 to 7 minute scene. Not sure about a whole episode. Maybe we'll get a few scenes throughout several episodes. We'll have to see how that goes. Now, another thing about the opening is the openings are usually in this color drained format that almost looks black and white. It's not really black and white. And I want to stress that they did not try to trick us in this opening. This opening did not open with any sort of color drain. It just opened on a white box, and the first several ties were black and white. But that's it. It is a full color opening right from the start. So what can we make of this opening of this huge mansion? And it was really kind of funny because while I'm watching this scene, part of what I'm thinking is I never imagined Jimmy or Saul living in anything this big. Never ever imagined Saul living in any type of house like this. So they don't give us any details about this scene, specifically as far as time-wise, specifically as far as where it lands in the timeline. And so my thoughts were, well, this is either after Breaking Bad, this is when everything falls apart for Saul and Walt, and Saul has to disappear and take on Gene's identity, or this is before that, before Breaking Bad. After watching the scene a couple times, I'm fairly confident in saying that this scene has nothing to do with the Breaking Bad time period. This scene is before the Breaking Bad time period. And I'm pretty confident in saying that for a couple of reasons. The first big reason is the song that we hear playing during the scene is Wine and Roses, and it's a romantic song. So I don't get the energy of like a criminal bust going on. It is a romantic song, and so that's the energy that they're trying to give us. The other things to note is there's no type of police presence or any type of authority at all. All we see are these movers moving around in completely unlabeled plain uniforms. I mean, they really went out of their way to hide details from us. So to me, these are simply movers, and that's it. Obviously, something more happened that caused this. We do get a shot with Saul face down in a pool. And if this shot here of Saul face down in a pool. If this is not an opening to film noir, then I don't know what it is. And I think this is the most significant piece, shot of the opening that we see. Soon after we see Saul in the pool, we make it to outside. And two things about outside. One, we see a sign for Saul Goodman and Associates. So again, this is another thing that leads me to believe that this would be pre-Breaking Bad. And finally, the scene closes with Kim's souvenir cork from the bottle of tequila from the first time Jimmy and Kim ran a scam. This cork is a souvenirs of Kim's from season 2, episode 1, when Jimmy and Kim run a con on Ken. And part of the con is they get Ken to pay for this extremely expensive bottle of tequila, which the server gives them a cork as a souvenir at the end of the dinner. And it's something that Kim keeps on her. The last time we saw it was when she quit Schweikart and Coakley. It was one thing she went back for and took it out of her desk. So it's something that is important to her that she's kept with her. And here we see it fall out of the dresser and end up on the side of the curb, on the curbside. Again, to me, I definitely see this opening scene being about the fallout of Jimmy and Kim's relationship. Well, I never pictured Jimmy living in a house of this size, specifically during Breaking Bad. It's because of how hard Jimmy hustles for Walt's money. I mean, as soon as Jimmy realizes that Walt has the potential to produce so much money, he doesn't leave Walt alone. He keeps at him. Even in the beginning, or most of the series, when Walt is screwing things up and him and Jesse aren't really making a lot of money, Jimmy doesn't walk away. He sticks with him. And the other clients that we see Jimmy servicing through Breaking Bad is it's very common to see his waiting room filled with people who need help and probably don't necessarily have a ton of money. We don't see any type of Lalo character as one of Jimmy's clients, and you would need a client like that as a criminal lawyer to afford such. I mean, this, it's massive. So no, I don't think we would have seen Jimmy. I don't think we would have seen Jimmy hustling so hard for money in Breaking Bad if he was able to afford this type of house. To me, the only place this house fits in is before Breaking Bad and after what we've already seen. So it's somewhere in that time period, Jimmy and I would say Kim will be in this house. A couple other quick notes about what happened in the house. The bikini bottom was kind of odd. I don't know if we're supposed to assume that Bikini Bottoms is Kim's or that Jimmy is living some kind of life, fast life with different women. They did show us Jimmy's prescriptions. One of them is a made-up prescription from last season at Nacho's house. There's a commercial for it playing on the TV. They don't tell us what the drug is for, but anyways, that's there. And then a lot of the other drugs are basically either hair growth drugs or heart and blood pressure drugs. Wasn't anything too interesting on there. We did see a little notebook of Jimmy's, and it was filled with code, like symbols. So that was really weird. I don't think that they wanted us to think it was letters. They don't do stuff like that. Jimmy had a notebook that was written all in code. So, I mean, it certainly makes sense, being a cartel lawyer, that he wants to keep things as secret as possible. So that was the exciting opening of season 6. That at this point, I am going to assume that this opening is about the downfall of Kim and Jimmy. My main reasons, it had a romantic song playing over it. The shot, again, it's so film noir that I just don't know what else to call it. It just looks like the perfect opening of a noir film. And noir films always include a femme fatale. And the cork on the side of the curb. To me, the signs couldn't be any clearer. So, could be from a different point in time. You never know with what they're doing. The Cadillac being towed away. I knew there was something else I wanted to bring up. The Cadillac being towed away is the one thing that kind of throws that scenario out. I don't understand why it's being towed away if they're not repo men or if they're not the law. But I'm sure that we'll get an explanation for everything soon enough. So as far as the rest of the episode, it does kind of carry a theme from the opening throughout the rest of the episode, which is through the rest of the episode, everybody is on the move of sorts. It's really easy to see with Nacho. Nacho is actually on the run throughout most of the episode. Nacho is on the run until he gets to Motel Acotillo, and then he holds up there. We see in Nacho's journey, Nacho's movements, he was taking it one step at a time. He first talks to Tyrus, and he tells him, take the phone out of your battery, walk for an hour, then put the phone back in your battery, then I'll tell you where to find a motel. And then once he gets to the motel, again, he's given step-by-step instructions. You're to stay there, change your clothes, wait for the truck to drive by, and then you have to jump into the truck. Lalo, again, very much on the move, but again, step by step. And it seems the first thing that Lalo had to do before he could head up north was to find someone that looked like him to pose as his dead body. I'm pretty sure that's what happened here. He tells the guy to shave his beard, which obviously does not resemble Lalo's appearance. So I do think that's what Lalo is doing. So that's his first step. And then later on in the episode, we see Lalo heading to for a border run, let's call it. So, but what Lalo does is on this journey that he's taking step by step, before he takes his last step, I mean, he is standing on that crate to take a step into that truck. And then, once he does, he's on his way to the United States. He stops and second guesses himself. He calls Hector, and Hector tells Lalo that before you exact this vengeance on Gus for what he's done to you, you need to get proof. And then we see Lalo get his money back, and he now has a truck. And we see he drives off, and he drives back down south. He is not going to go up north. Now, when Lalo said he knows where to look for proof, the one thing that I did think of is Jimmy's car with bullet holes, because this was absolute proof of something. And Lalo was never able to really figure out what it was. Jimmy gave him the explanation that Jimmy gave, which was just that the car broke down and a bunch of kids must have shot bullet holes in it. But Lalo never really bought it. When Hector tells Lalo, you need proof, I think what hits Lalo's head, he says, but I followed Gus's men all over up north and I saw nothing. And I think that it's at this point when he says, well, wait a minute, I did see something. I saw Saul's car shot up in the desert, and I never really got an explanation for that. Now, Gus, we find taking things one step at a time, but there's no movement with Gus throughout the entire episode. This is the first time we see Gus's trailer in Better Call Saul. This trailer was a staple location throughout the series of Breaking Bad, and this is the first time we saw it. It was such a common location in Breaking Bad that I was waiting for it at certain times throughout the past 5-6 years, through Better Call Saul, for it to pop up. I was waiting, when are we gonna see Gus's trailer? And the funny thing is I watched the whole episode, and never realized, oh, we finally saw the trailer, because it was so common in Breaking Bad, become a commonplace, and it was just, yeah, Gus is in his trailer. But this is the first time that we've seen it in Breaking Bad, in Better Call Saul. And Gus was stuck in this trailer throughout the whole episode. He didn't know what to do. He couldn't make a move. He was going step by step. His steps involved finding out what happened, what the downfall is. Who does he have to be afraid of? And it seems that Gus is uneasy about buying the idea that Lalo is actually dead. The whole idea that 2 of the sicarios that were on the mission were killed really puzzles Gus. And he even questions that. Like, I'm supposed to believe this is a success, even though the 2 of the guys were killed. Mike says that has been known to happen, and so they're just sitting around, and Gus is waiting for more confirmation. He's not sure what to do. He also will not make a decision about Nacho. Again, we see this step-by-step sort of process. He's waiting to get more information before he decides what to do with Nacho. Mike is very concerned that for Nacho. He does not want Gus to kill Nacho. He thinks Nacho earned the right to live and be free. But because Gus is stuck, that means that Mike is stuck. Mike gives Gus the big speech saying, I think he deserves your respect. And Gus says, he has my respect. Which was really such a blow to Mike, because it's like, okay, fine, he has my respect, but he's still not agreeing not to kill him. I mean, he's just, he won't commit to saying, I'll let Nacho live. This is the hotel room that Kim and Jimmy were staying in because they feared what Lalo would do to them. They stay there until Jimmy talks to Mike, and Mike says, Lalo's gonna be killed, don't worry about it. Jimmy goes back. When Kim gets in, he tells her, we're gonna be safe. So the next morning, they're going to leave. When we come in on Jimmy and Kim, Kim is sleeping like a baby. Jimmy cannot sleep. Jimmy is still extremely conflicted over what he did when he represented Lalo and what happened and what he did in the desert. He has still not gotten over this. We see this with him lying awake in bed, and he's generally uncomfortable throughout most of the episode. He's not only uncomfortable, but he has a hard time being on the move, and he actually hits a couple roadblocks in the episode when he does try to get on the move. So anyways, they're in bed. Jimmy couldn't sleep. Kim slept like a baby. We see them brush their teeth. I think I'm going to do an entire video on Kim and Jimmy's teeth brushing because it's always significant. It always gives us an idea of where they're at in their relationship. And we do see them both brushing their teeth at the same time. And this is a good signal, but it's in separate mirrors. And I think that's a really good way of expressing where their relationship is at right now. I mainly say that because I do think that they are together. I think Kim is happy to be with Jimmy, and Jimmy definitely wants to be with Kim. But I think they're in separate places as to where they believe their relationship is headed. So anyways, they're brushing their teeth. Jimmy and Kim brushing their teeth is always a significant scene. It always helps us see where they are in their relationship. And even though they're brushing their teeth together, they are in separate mirrors. So Kim goes on about her incredibly busy day because she picked up all these PD cases in the last episode of the last season. And when she asks Jimmy about his day, he lies. And it's the first time. He lies to her twice in this episode. That's the first time. And we know Jimmy is lying. He says same thing, like he's got a really busy day. And then we see that Jimmy's day isn't busy at all. When they get to the courtroom, they say goodbye to each other. And Kim senses that maybe there's something a bit off with Jimmy. And she asks him if he's okay. And Jimmy says, I'm good. But then the next shot we get of Jimmy getting off the elevator, it's just really obvious that no, Jimmy's not doing good. So we do see that Jimmy lies twice to Kim in this episode. Then Jimmy's walking down the hall and he's about to turn the corner, and he sees that the district attorney and detective that worked on Lalo's case is down the hall, and he backs up. Jimmy does not want to see them. He needs to rub his ring for his inner strength to see them. Again, because Jimmy is extremely conflicted over how he represented Lalo last season. He got a cold-blooded murderer free. He set a cold-blooded murderer free who was going to skip town on bail. Jimmy knew that what was going to happen. The murder that Lalo committed was heinous. And maybe Jimmy can justify working for drug cartels, you know, when drug cartels fight with other drug cartels and kill people that are in the game. I think Mike uses that phrase, in the game. Like, it's okay to go after people that are in the game. But when criminals go after people that are outside the game, it becomes more of a cold-blooded murder situation. That's how people view it. And Fred, who worked at Fred, who was just trying to make a living, doing his job, the fact that Lalo murdered him, I mean, you know, it really was hard to swallow. And even Jimmy had a hard time swallowing this. It was an extremely significant event in that courtroom when Jimmy did represent Lalo. Saul takes over for Jimmy without Jimmy realizing it. It's an extremely significant event. It may be the most significant event in Jimmy's transformation into Saul. It's right after that where Jimmy runs into Howard in the courtroom, and Jimmy's like yelling and screaming at him, I'm like a god, and lightning bolts come out of my finger. Jimmy's like half crazy at that point. And it's because what happened in that courtroom was so powerful and significant. So anyways, Jimmy runs into them. The gig's up. They know that Lalo lied about everything, that he's using a fake name, he used a fake family, a fake address. But Jimmy's not gonna let them push him around. He immediately goes into attorney mode, and Jimmy's a good attorney. So he puts them in their place, and then he says to them, I have clients who are waiting for me, so I have to go. And Jimmy walks away, and then we see him walk into a dark, empty courtroom and just sit there. So again, we do know he lied to Kim when he said he has a really busy day. He had nobody waiting for him. He just sat there in a dark, empty courtroom. Later on, when we see them meet at the El Camino dining room, Kim says, how was your day? And the only thing that Jimmy says to her is, I rented our car. So yeah, Jimmy didn't have a busy day, and Jimmy is lying to Kim. As far as how Kim is acting towards Jimmy, well, we saw Kim play Jimmy for the second episode in a row and on the same topic. When Kim ran into Howard and Howard tried to warn Kim about, getting involved with Jimmy and that Jimmy wasn't somebody that she really would want to get involved with, Kim got really pissed. And she's not going to let it slide. She wants Howard to pay for pointing out, at the very least, a half-truth. We've seen this in Kim before. One of the bigger things that Kim and Jimmy took on that started to lead them to this place where they weren't just running cons on people for fun, but they were running cons within the legal system, was Huell. Huell's case for assaulting the police officer. Kim was always willing to help Jimmy in this case, but she made it clear to him that she would only go so far and she wasn't going to be bending rules. She would just do what she could to help Huell. Except after she talks to the DA and the DA calls Jimmy a slanderous name. Some two-bit joker lawyer, I think she says. This sets Kim off. And it's the same thing that happens with her and Howard. It seems that Kim does not want to be confronted with the truth of what Jimmy is. We kind of see this reinforced in this episode when they are walking out. So they get dressed. Interesting point about when Jimmy and Kim are getting ready is it's the exact opposite situation of last season's second episode. In 50% Off, Season 5, Episode 2, the scene with Kimmy and Jim opens with Kim opening the closet and looking at clothes while Jimmy is on the phone. And in this episode, we have Jimmy opening the closet while Kim's on the phone. Now, the funny thing about this reversal is even though these two are reversed, instead of Jimmy on the phone, Kim's on the phone, and instead of Jimmy in the closet, Kim's in the closet. In Season 5, Episode 2, and in Season 6, Episode 1, both scenes are about Jimmy trying to get Kim's attention. And that's pretty much a staple in the relationship. But I'm not sure if they mirrored that scene intentionally. I kind of think they have to. It was just weird that the dynamics weren't mirrored. The dynamics were actually exactly the same and not flipped around. So anyways, after Kim and Jimmy get ready and Jimmy gets a sport coat for Kim's client, they need money for the taxi. Jimmy goes into the money bag and Kim finds the second best lawyer coffee cup. And she walks out with it and, very curious, what is she going to do with this cup? And Kim throws it away. Kim stared at the coffee cup, specifically at the bullet holes. Then she was just carrying it like it was a normal cup out of her sight, and she threw it away. So Kim does not like to be confronted with the truth. Howard knows everything, almost everything, at least the dynamics about Jimmy and Kim. Howard knows them really well. And he exposed the truth for Kim, and Kim's not going to accept this. So the first time we see Kim play Jimmy is the first time she brings us up in the hotel room, and now we're in the restaurant. And it's really interesting the way Kim plays Jimmy because she does it by taking care of Saul. And this is huge shift in Kim. Kim takes care of Jimmy. She really tried to discourage him from using the name Saul Goodman. And Kim was interested in Jimmy. But we see specifically at this dinner, I think I might have called it lunch, at this dinner, that she is taking care of Saul now. He sits down and first she feeds him. He he's kind of taken back. She's just going a mile a minute because Kim just had the best day of her life. And then, of course, she adds professional life because she knows if she didn't, that Jimmy would be hurt by that statement because Jimmy needs to be wanted by Kim, and she didn't want him to think that she had the best day of her life without him. So she adds professional life. And she's running high, man. And shoving food in front of his face, and he's a bit taken back by it all. But then they go on, and she asks what he did. He says the car, and then she says Saul wouldn't drive that type of car. Saul needs a nicer, fancier car. And then she says Saul needs an office. And I mean, this, man, from the first or second episode of the series, Jimmy has been looking for an office. It's like his ultimate all-time dream is to have this beautiful office. Now, it used to include the idea of Kim being in the office with him, but Kim makes the move to Schweikart and Coakley, and it kind of puts an end to Jimmy's dream of them having an office together. It's a pretty big hit for Jimmy. She does it over lunch. He has to actually excuse himself from the table. But anyways, so he had to put out the idea of him and Kim getting an office together, and now it's just about his office. And of course, that's what Kim brings up because, again, she's trying to butter Jimmy up. And again, she doesn't bring up what Jimmy needs. She talks about what Saul needs, because I think that Kim is now taking care of Saul instead of taking care of Jimmy. So once she gets him all excited about that, that's when she brings up what's the next move on Howard gonna be. Really interesting move here. They start to talk about it, and then they cut outside of the conversation of the restaurant when the two of them get into the details about it. I mean, this is obviously for an element of surprise for the audience, which is probably good because I just can't believe they're going to do this to Howard. Like, I didn't want to hear the plan. I don't want to be thinking about it. So I'm glad they cut us out for that reason. But it was interesting because we've never been taken out of a Jimmy Kim conversation like that before, ever. We always get to see what's happening with Jimmy and Kim. But we were taken out of that conversation. And just a quick side note, they're both behind bars in this shot. And if you go back to the season 5 opening, we get a shot of Gene behind bars. So take that as you will. So then we see them at the golf course. And again, this episode with a theme of step by step, we're seeing the first step of their plan. Jimmy heads in. We don't know what he's up to, but he heads in. And again, as I said before, Jimmy hits roadblocks in this episode. And the first roadblock was when he ran into the DA and detective in the courthouse. And in this second roadblock is Kevin Witchley. And this is almost a threat to his mission. But of course, Jimmy spins it around. As a matter of fact, anytime Jimmy starts walking away from someone and then stops and goes back, that person is in serious trouble. I think we've seen this, we've seen it at least 3 times, maybe 4. This very specific act of someone telling Jimmy basically no to something, him starting to walk away and then going back. And when he goes back, you're done. He already won the argument. I think it's the only reason he does go back. But anyways, he goes back, and big scene about, why you wouldn't show me, and inclusion and all that stuff. With the mayonnaise, wall-to-wall mayonnaise, that was a beautiful line. Anyways, and so he gets into the locker room, which is where he wants to be. This whole thing is interesting because he is setting Howard up. They obviously do not want to get caught. They were parked very far away with binoculars. This is all stealth. And Howard may be able to track Jimmy to this country club now, being at the country club the day that he found cocaine in his locker. I mean, there was a huge scene. Jimmy used both of his real names, and Kevin knows Jimmy, he knows Howard, and he knows that Howard knows Jimmy. So, you know, there's a lot of connection there, and I kind of think it's going to come back, but we'll have to wait and see. So Jimmy makes it into the locker room, and the whole first part of their plan is to plant cocaine in Howard's locker room. And it works very successfully. Clifford Maine doesn't exactly know what to think, you know? He just doesn't know what to think. They did air both episodes all at once. So just to be clear, because sometimes it's hard to tell with commercials, and they didn't run as many commercials in the beginning, so the first episode kind of ended like before the halfway mark. But the first episode ends when we see Lalo head back down south. And then the second episode opens with Mike and the men in Nacho's house and doing the whole thing with the safe. So that's the break between the first and second episode. I was really happy with both of them. I'm so extremely excited about this last season of Better Call Saul. I think it is going to be an ultimate achievement of Peter Gould and Vince Gilligan's. They've done so much with Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. They've accomplished so much. I really do feel that what we're going to see is going to be absolutely amazing. I really do. They're masters of their trade, and we're going to see that this season. So I'm really looking forward to it. Really quickly, I will say I'm probably dropping the name G-Spot. I really like the G-Spot. Should I tell? Yeah, okay, I'm gonna go into it really quick. I like the G-Spot because it's way better than the G-Show. It just sounds better. And, you know, if I were to say what I wish my best videos did, because I don't do this every video, but, you know, what I strive for, what I feel represents excellence, is if I can give your brain an orgasm. And so when I thought of G-Spot, I was like, wow, this is actually perfect. The problem with G-Spot is if you Google it, my channel or my videos never come up. So the changes that I do make, I hope are to help my channel grow. And that's a change I have to make. Unfortunately, I haven't thought of a new name yet. And I really don't like the G-Show. So that's why there's no intro in this. Anyways, yeah. So my videos, hopefully, we'll see some evolving of my videos over this season. And hopefully, they'll end up at a better place. Do look out for my video on the second episode and for every episode throughout the season. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.